Okay, in this video we're going to look at a few old car parts that I've had in the shed for ages, and it's time I got rid of these things and sorted them out. And we're going to start, they're basically instrument parts. I used to like playing with this sort of stuff as a kid. People would dump old cars in the bush or the tip or whatever, and they'd still have the instrument clusters in them. For some reason very few people bothered to keep them. And these two are out of HQ type Holdens. Actually a bit different each one. One's got a metal back on it. I think they said, yeah, 672, so that would be very early for a HQ Holden. DK blue, that's got DK blue black. I'm not sure what that means. It looks like a quality control label maybe. Flexi Drive Instruments, Australia. And we've got Holden numbers. Ranger number. What was a Ranger? They didn't... Definitely, well, it's a Ford, isn't it? A Ranger, so I don't know what that number was. Maybe that's something else. And we've got Holden 2815729, 2815730, 17844. So different numbers. Are they basically the same? At least it's got all... If you look on eBay, a lot of them are being sold with these tabs broken off. Now, one of these is dodgy. That one's got a big crack up here, and it's starting to crack up there. You can sort of push it back into place. I've got to be very careful, but that can be glued again, I think. But people got these on there for like $140, and if you look, most of these pieces are smashed off. There's a third tab underneath. They've got a brake warning light and two other red lights there. I used to like messing around with them as a kid because you had all these diffusers that you could light up. So we've got red plastic there. We've also got a green indicator up there. The right hand indicator is on these. This one you can spin a little piece on the end and we can make it go round, so I think that's a good one. Not really much in these besides kind of clock springs or something and some gears or something. It's a little noisy, but this is from 1972 or thereabouts, so not surprising. This one doesn't have that bit on it, and it's got some greasy muck in, so we'll have to see if we can pick that out of there. I'm not sure if this has a... Some of these have like a shaft that goes up inside. That's what I was expecting on the other one. Then I realised it's got a little piece you can adjust or grab hold of. But usually I think they had a cable with a long sort of square bit came out the end or something. Who knows? I mean, I'm no Holden expert of this era. Most of them are still going. When I was younger, surprising how many of them were around and how long they lasted. A lot of these old HQs and stuff. I used to work with a woman who actually, her husband got an ex-police one because he was in the police. And she could drive the thing around with no power steering and stuff, which was quite an effort. Even the sort of, XF Falcons, HQ Holdens and stuff, if you tried moving them around a car park with no power steering on them, they were a very heavy car. Very uncomfortable. I swore that my first car of that sort of size was going to have power steering after trying one without it, and definitely worth getting. But I have to give it to her. She battled on using that thing and used to have to move it around the car park and stuff a bit where we worked. So a bit of a cobweb in there. These things, I don't know, I guess we could pull them apart maybe even, but you can buy replacement plastic for these by the look of it, and even these lenses, I think. That's got brake printed on it. Yeah, that's the same. That's got some other weird white thing there that just rubs off, so that's nothing major. Now what we do need to do though is, can I poke something in there and make this thing rotate? What have we got? Oh yeah, even when I just put that screwdriver in there, look at that, she's going. This one did, well, it shows 55,863 miles, but that could be 155,000, 255,000, who would know. Still in mile per hour back then, up to 120. I think it was around 1974 we went metric with most things. That's certainly when the cans and bottles and everything changed over. The coins all changed in 66, I think, and then all the measures changed around 74. Same thing here, 120 miles. This one's done 61,330. So I think both of these are probably a going thing. I don't know what sort of thing it has in there, and that's got the indicator in there as well. So if you had a light globe that fitted in, very common in cars. I used to like playing around with the light globes and stuff on them. And we do have an old Datsun instrument cluster here, so we'll have a play with that maybe and see if we can get it to light up. Oh, I don't want to grab it by that. I keep grabbing it by the broken bit, of course. It's the first thing you always grab, is the one thing you don't want to. And this, I think, has got dirt on the inside as well. But these things are potentially worth a little bit of money. I don't think what a lot of the stuff on eBay is asking is correct, especially for broken ones. That's just ridiculous. And if you look at things on eBay and you see it's got 20 followers, that's usually because they want to see if anyone's silly enough to pay that amount of money, not because it's popular. That's my experience anyway. So all the overpriced stuff on eBay, like when someone wants $500 for a retro gaming 14-inch, you know, early 80s RF only television, it usually has a heap of followers because they want to see if anyone's silly enough to pay that. There can't be any other reason for it, because any sane person looks at it and goes, tell me he's dreaming, as the Castle movie said. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff on eBay that's definitely people dreaming, or some of them I suspect they don't even want to sell it. They don't seem to be serious sellers at all. I don't know what's going on there half the time. It's almost like, look at me, I've got this thing, I know you want it, but, well, I know lots of people want it, but I'm not going to sell it because I've got a silly price on it. And yeah, we're going to have to, well, I don't know if I should glue that or just leave it. Someone else can fix that bit, but at least it's there, and the other little tab underneath, because a lot of the ones on eBay are just busted off. Obviously a bit of failing. I think they screwed the whole instrument cluster in these things. Was pretty plastic, very 70s, ugly sort of plastic, black plastic thing. These were sort of set down in holes, I think. The Holden interiors of that era are not very nice, but did the job, I guess. And that seems to be going not so good there. So what are this one's? So what's the difference? That's got clips up there, but no screws. This one's got 2 screws. So let's have a look, see if we can get those out. I doubt anything really goes wrong with these things unless they get really rusted inside or something. Most of these old sort of instruments just went forever. Sometimes the clocks seem to be the things that would fail for whatever reason, but yeah, that's rather dusty in there. Let's see if we can get the dust out carefully without, and I'll put my hand on that part. You always put your hand on the broken bit. Let's see if we can get the worst of that out without being very careful. Those needles are only like, usually, I don't know if these are the ones, usually like a bent piece of aluminium or something, a very thin piece of metal. And it takes very little to break, or it takes very little to bend them normally. And you can never get them straight again. Oh shit! Well, it looks like our white numbers ain't too good, so that was a big mistake. Oh no. Yeah, our white numbers are coming off, so there had to be something, didn't there? Oh, I'm not sure if I should have put metho on that, but so our old printing, so that might explain why a lot of them have, well, some I think came out of the factory upgraded. You can buy the new sticker to stick over the top to convert them to kilometres. But yeah, that's going to be a problem, so we can't really clean these things very well. And that's why we've got to be super careful messing with stuff like this. I think we can recover most of it, but that is a problem if they're going to smear everywhere. So that white paint is not very good, which is a bit of a pain if you're trying to get these things clean. But it looks like brush only. The problem is the brush isn't getting everything. Oh well, you live and learn. And this is the problem, like with old radios and stuff, is if you mess with these things, you risk doing further damage. You probably should just leave them dirty and that, but it's a bit cruel to people if you're sort of trying to get top dollar for stuff, and you haven't done any of the stuff, probably not well knowing that that's what's going to happen when they try and clean it up. Which I don't like to be like that. Should try and find out what the condition of the thing is like before you sell it. But most sellers aren't that honest, I guess. They'd prefer to sell you something in dodgy condition, knowing full well what's likely to happen, and let you find out, and then you can only blame yourself, I guess. Because you don't know that they knew that. And I really need to clean out the back of that stuff. This thing's fairly dirty all round. They were stored in an old shed for God knows how many years, with some weather getting in and stuff, I think. Though these seem to be pretty free of rust and stuff, at least that was what worried me. We do have an old clock off a Datsun that is pretty rusty, and the dimmer control for the instrument cluster, just a rheostat I think they are. That was so bad I just threw it away. They only sell for 20 bucks or something anyway, and I'm not going to bother with the one that's got corroded terminals and the front of it's all rusted. I'd hate to think what it's like inside. So that could just go in the rubbish. Not worth wasting anyone's time on that. If it was a super rare part, maybe it's worth someone rebuilding or whatever, but I mean, a lot of this stuff from the 70s and that is not as common as it used to be, but it's not super rare. It's nothing too special most of the time, and especially a lot of these parts don't even fail. I don't know how much of a market there is for these things even, because I can't imagine they fail that often. I think the biggest failure with these, from the look of it, is those broken brackets. Maybe they get some other problems, but like I say, most of these instruments tended to keep going, and that's why people used to just leave them in the cars when they chucked them out, I think, because, you know, who wants an instrument cluster? They never fail, basically. There's just certain things, like I know Subarus, I think it is the L series Subarus, Brumbies and wagons and stuff, the clocks in those seem to die, and you get certain makes and models where your clocks or whatever die all the time. But Speedos and stuff, pretty rare, I think. I mean, there are certain cars known for breaking Speedo cables and that sort of thing. And, well, yeah, I've made a real mess of that, I think. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to recover the bits there. Oh well, that's what you get for messing with things. I've got one more go at cleaning it. But that has made quite a mess of it. Which is a bit of a shame, but people might want to put an upgraded label so they don't get speeding fines, because they're looking at it in miles per hour and trying to remember what the conversion rate is. Especially in the modern world, they're getting onto the speed zones, good revenue raiser, so you've got to watch everything you do these days. But yeah, I think I might have messed that one up a bit, so I have to be a bit more careful with the other one, but it looks a lot better than it did. We've got dirt everywhere. And that's the problem with all this old stuff, it's full of dirt. Some of these cars are full of dust and stuff just from driving on dirt roads and stuff. Let alone when the parts are sitting in sheds for years. The good thing when you get these out is you can do right around the edges and stuff and make them look a lot better than when they're still attached to the thing. But yeah, these are far from good condition really. They certainly got a few scratches and stuff. And this is what I'm saying. I mean, if you've got to pay another $40 or something for a new lens, some people might have an old one, they can swap it off or whatever. So who knows, but yeah, that lens is pretty scratchy and horrible. No one restoring a car is going to want that in it. But if you really had one with a broken casing or whatever, can you change that? I wonder if you can change that mile per hour thing. And these screws are a bit rusty, but you won't see them once they're in the car anyway. But the lens is here pretty rubbish quality, I must say. I don't rate that one. I'm still grabbing that bloody thing. Yeah, that lens is pretty poor quality. Quite a big scratch there. Just the general condition they get in anyway, but this one's been out of the car, so it's even worse than it probably would have been if it stayed in the car. Let's undo this and see what happens. I've got two other screws there. So does this whole piece come off? I assume these can be dismantled, and plenty of bits swapped around between them and all the rest. If you did have a faulty one, you could sort of swap the housings around and mix around and whatever. That doesn't feel like it wants to come off. So I'm probably going to completely wreck this thing by the time I finish. It looks like that takes the... So even just the front parts off these is probably the valuable bit. If it comes off. Looks like this bit should slot out of that front housing. Ooh, yeah, like that. Except, does it lift out? Gotta be so careful like that. She was stuck in there pretty well. So there's your value on this thing, is probably throw the lens away, throw the mechanism away, and just have this piece for people that have got a broken one. What's that thing? Some bit of damage, or is it something on there? Yeah, but that lens has had it. So this is how you get them apart to, I guess, change this label. It's pretty well stuck on, I think. At least we can get the dirt out of here a bit. But the screws are rusty on this, so it's probably had a bit of weather exposure again, which makes it not a perfect unit. But I assume you've got to somehow wiggle it past this. Is there a screw under here or anything? I don't think so. Oh, there you go. Bit of a gentle push, and we can dial back the clock and do a dodgy in the car yard. Yeah, I see what people are probably doing when they supposedly rebuild these things. Bit of grease in there wouldn't hurt. So what is this? How's this working? Oh, is there a magnet in there or something? Yeah, I think there's a weak... Is that a weak magnet? I assume that this outer piece spins with it. There's a bar magnet possibly in there, and as that does that, of course, it attracts this other piece to follow it. And you can see the needle starting to go up. Interesting design, but nice and simple, almost foolproof. How do we wind the clock on? I think you've got to, is there something you've got to press to release these things? There's some little levers there, I think. Not that I encourage anyone to do that, but these days you wouldn't know what's on these cars anyway and what parts are being swapped. Probably got a completely different engine to what they originally had and all the rest. Hopefully someone's upgraded them quite a bit. Uh-oh. So that was a little felt bit there, but look, it's all disintegrated. Probably best that that's gone anyway. But it probably needs a new seal in there. Bit of dirt or something down in there. So it probably has had a little bit of water in there at some stage. Yeah. At least if we get this apart, we can clean it out. We can clean this lamp area out. Mostly anyway. Come on, rotate you. So and so. Well, that's a lot better. At least I've seen the inside. There's no sign of corrosion or anything on this bit, which is good. A slight bit of rust on the corner, that's it. So I wouldn't want to sell something if it's all basically a mess inside, all rusted or anything. There's a little bit of dirt on that piece, I think. Yeah, it could even be, I guess it could have picked up a few iron particles or something if it's a magnet there. Well, that's on the other piece, so this bit shouldn't pick too much up. Yeah, so this piece, just if you rotate it out a bit, it literally just drives the needle directly. Well, then again, what just happened then when I dropped it back? Oh yeah, a little ding as we hit the end stop. So that's just a direct drive, but it does bounce a bit on the end there. And in theory, this bit could probably be lubed up a bit. Certainly sounds like it needs it. Because, yeah, you can imagine how noisy that'd potentially get. Actually had a guy who thought his Honda gearbox was noisy and replaced it, and then found out it was the Speedo cable. So he came and bought the Speedo cable off me and told me the story. I thought that was a bit of a worry, innit? Replacing the... Oh, that's enough to make that less noisy. Although we're going the wrong direction. Don't know if you can get that piece off and completely out of there. But anyway, we've looked at it. The grease in there is actually fine, but it probably could do with topping up on the various worm wheels and bits and pieces if you were going to use this again. But it goes to show you can tidy these things up if you want to. I still haven't managed to fix that white stuff though. That's the only annoying bit. If I can avoid maybe a bit of paper will take it off better, but I think this one might be a bit shot now. And it's actually taken a little, lightened up the numbers a bit where it's taken it off. So yeah, you could definitely do with a new label on this one. And there's still dust in there. Just being careful of that needle, like I say. Looks like you can actually take that green bit out if you had to. But we could probably just clean that from the outside fairly well. Because you don't want a dirty indicator, I guess it is. But that's it, a pretty crude but effective bit of equipment. I guess we should put that back in the housing. And which rusty screws I've forgotten now. Those ones I think, yeah, they were rusty ones up in there. The shorter ones, and yeah, wouldn't hurt to replace them really to hide the fact that it's ever been exposed to any water. If you're that way inclined. But I'm going to leave it in its honest condition as it came. I assume, yeah, really that thing could do with a new rubber bit under there. It's a pretty tight fit. That's why it's so hard to get on and off. So in theory that could have let a bit of dust in. That's why they would have had that old foamy stuff there, just to make sure it was sealed around here. I mean, you could put a little bead or something around there, I guess, on the outside, like silicone or something that you could easily cut off if you know, the chances are you're never going to open it again anyway. But that probably would be a good idea to seal that though. You know, these cars aren't going to be doing high Ks on dirt roads anymore, I don't think. So yeah, that one's a bit messy. This one's got stuff on it. So I think we've got another piece of plastic. It's all scratched anyway. Can we get any of that off? And this is full of dirt, this one. But how do we get the plastic off this one? Probably the hard way by finding out how you break it. Oh, my luck. Is that glued in there? Not sure that one comes off, to be honest. It's got clips there, or little bits that slot through, so they're not obviously not going to come off at that end. That one's actually broken anyway, now I've just found out. The point is, if this end, is that glued in there? Who knows? Oh well, this has got nuts to drive on this one. Drive your nuts. But at least we can see the condition inside it. Still doesn't fit it. 6mm, so 6mm is still not big enough. Must be like a 7 or something. Even when you buy a set of nut drivers, it's still not good enough. I've probably actually got a fitting the right size, but I might just try and do the old pliers trick. But even if I get $50 or something for the two of them, I guess it's better than nothing. They've got to be worth something like that, I think. That is filthy. This has actually got a metal plate, back plate, I think, in this one. So whether the letters are better attached, I don't think I'll risk. Oh God, look at the cobweb in there. Someone's had that as a home. It's a totally different construction. There's actually quite a bit of metal in this for a HQ Holden dash part. They were pretty plasticky things. This is probably the most solid part I've seen in one of those Holdens, at least in the dash. Because I remember them being pretty plasticky. Not the nicest looking things, but they did the job. Awfully close to that white stuff again, and it's a shame you can't, because there's quite a bit of dirt stuck to this thing. Which is often the case, it just caked on there. But surprisingly, there's a little bit of rust on there, I think. So that lifts up out of there. Oh, they were meant to be through and bent by. Oh, that's actually, they've broken off those tabs. I think, oh no, one's there still. That's meant to sit in there like that. That one's probably not as bent around as it should be. That's a bit better. That one's actually been broken off. Yeah, the indicator definitely needs a clean as well. Yeah, quite a different mechanism in that one. Quite a solid one. So it's got this big die cast bit coming in and it's all sealed up in there. And then a little worm wheel comes out on the end and feeds that. That's where the grease is in this one. And that doesn't look the best. I think it's alright, surprisingly. And yeah, there's what we get. Not sure if they use those other ones for anything, or maybe they had another lens over the top or whatever with something written on it like alternator or whatever, or battery. But that's what they are. And oh, where's our indicator? That's so we can sort of see that anyway. There's our green indicator. Can't really flash this quick enough, but that's sort of wouldn't have gone such a short period. But been a while since that's been lit up, I would think. That's got all the dirt out at least, so was that glued? Must have been something like that. That has kind of got a little lip on it. Does need a bit more of a clean. Must have been just sitting there. I think it must have had some sort of glue or something because now it's loose. But at least they come off is the main thing, I guess, because I assume you can get a replacement for it. Or at least you could swap one off, a good one. But yeah, I think these are going to be like a $50 for the pair of them sort of thing. For someone who wants to mess around with them for parts or whatever. But at least if I can go to a good home and be used again for something, would be good. And I just really wanted to check the condition inside, make sure they weren't completely rusted out or corroded or anything. But they are in surprisingly good condition compared to what I was expecting. But at least we know what we're dealing with. And they both seem to work. But yeah, not at all in the greatest condition. But could have been a lot worse. And it looks like, yeah, if you do want to service these things, you can pull them apart. This one you'd have to go further and undo that and drop everything out. But yeah, $6.72. I'll have to look when they actually started building these, but that was probably around the time, would have been in one of the first ones. So that's the video, and that's the Flex Drive. Flex Drive Instruments Australia. Yeah, don't ever remember hearing those. Video are still in business as far as I know. They made a lot of stuff for all the different brands. But that's those out of the way. At least I've looked at them and now I can sort of sell them knowing what they are and get rid of the things. And this is a clock out of a Datsun Stanza, as far as I could find. Not sure were they actually a Bluebird or something different to a Bluebird. I'm not even sure. I remember the thing's been around. There was heaps of them around when I was younger. They sold a lot of those cars. I think they come with a round headlight, twin round headlight and twin square headlight or something. I remember the square headlighted sort of Datsuns of that era being around. And lots of younger people, when I was leaving school, that was the sort of car they were buying because they were reasonably priced. As far as I know, a pretty good car, though probably in the days before they rust-coated things properly, so they probably rusted away, but generally they were pretty good little cars. But speaking of rusting away, this was in very poor condition. The earth straps were very rusted. I think they should have a couple of lights on a wiring harness. I think we'll just hook it up and see if it does anything, which is, I'd say, very unlikely. It'll be a miracle, basically, I think. Yep, no second hand operating. Ugh, barely turns. It is very crunchy. A part of it's just this little knob on the front, I think, because I did take the spring and that's just rust. I did take the plastic off and just clean it out a bit before, but I don't have much hope of this being any good for anything. So 3 nuts on the back, 2 are very rusted, and this I think it just popped off. I think if you just carefully, it's kind of, yeah, that's it, kind of held on by those bigger, more triangle shaped bits. Not sure if I even put that back the right way though. I think it only could go one way because of that little slot. Yeah, that thing was semi-loose, but I didn't force it. Yeah, it's not attached to anything, so it should come out, I think. But without bending it, that is the problem. And without bending the hands, Although that's going to have to come out to get the guts out of this thing, I think. Gonna have to move it a certain place. Oh, there we go. Just gonna put a little bit more force under it, I guess. You can take the hands off, no doubt, and take the front off. That we should have a nut driver for. Picked it around the right size the first go. Oh, it's rusted, but it comes out alright. What size is that? Oh, it's an M5, so maybe it's a 4.5. It feels a little big, that one, but if it works, I'm using it. This is a Video Australia as well. Oh, poor thing. Yeah, very corroded. Electronic, I thought it would probably be an electronic. A lot of them were quartz. Oh man, yeah, well, there's your quartz crystal. That's rusted badly, and yeah, the mechanism beyond that is rusted horribly, I think. It's almost making clock-like noises. But they got like a solenoid. Or is it just, I think it's just an electromagnet that, what does it do for? I think there's a magnet on this other piece and it puts a little pulse up this bit of metal. And does that make that rock back and forwards or something? Well, we're making the second hand go, see that's probably a pulse every so often. Pulse, pulse, pulse. That's kind of how they worked. So that is capable of moving. But yeah, I doubt these are worth an awful lot of money. Even if they are working. So I don't think we'll waste too much time. I'll just be interested, how do we get this apart? Do I have to unsolder something? Yeah, I don't know how that circuit board comes out. I would have pulled a few of these apart back in the day, just see what the IC and stuff was. 2 electrolytic capacitors. That one actually looks a bit like it's bolted off the board, possibly. And there's a, what's that, 14 pin chip. Not much else really in there. I guess, yeah, how do we get the board is, yeah, it's soldered to the solenoid. Soldered to the solenoid. Soldered to the solenoid again, I think. Something else feels like, oh, there's something soldered down there. Undo those. It is, it makes them apart. I'm sure it could be repaired if you really wanted to, but like I say, not worth enough, I'm sure, to bother going that far with it. But I'd like to see, if we can, what the chip is, because it's always interesting. I forget what the chips were in these sort of things. I say I would have pulled a few of these old car clocks apart way back in the day. Because I remember I had a few, and I say I can't help pulling things apart. See what they're made out of, especially if they're only old junk and stuff that no one wants anyway. Something's happening, but something's holding. Oh, maybe I didn't need to unsolder that one. Oh, it's actually broken, I think, that one. Or did it come out of plastic? I think it might have just been a mount anyway. Well, I guess we could see if our coil's still intact there. Yeah, I'd say it would be. There's a lot of wire wrapped around that. $270 ohms. So I guess that's the sort of thing these micro scrappers would love. You could sit there and unwind every winding by hand, or cut through it and get your copper out of that, and you'd have all of, I'd hate to think how, a few cents worth. But what's more interesting is what I had a feeling they had a German type S number or something on it, and it does, but I don't think it's a... Ah, that resistor's burnt out by the look of it. It's an SCL 5419AE by... Who was it? Is it SGS 8s or something? In their early days, wherever they were, with a... It's like a cube, a three-dimensional cube with S on three faces. They actually look like those Fracco caps almost. It looked German, like a European one as well. So maybe this was... Even though it was in a Japanese car, it was made in Australia, so maybe it was using European parts to do that. Oh, that fed the coil by the look of it, that. What was a resistor, and might still be fine, but it's certainly black. So I think this thing was faulty quite a while ago. Maybe the mechanism jammed up or something. Maybe it just ran hot by design. 100 ohms. I mean, if it's German or European parts, that's what you often find. Everything runs hot in it. But not that hot. Not to the point of blackening things normally. But yeah, that went to one of the terminals. Oh no, that's going to that other terminal. I lie, that's the coil there. That was just a pin stuck in the plastic, I think. So what does this other terminal do? Where is it? There. That's on the metal part. Yeah, that's weird. Why would they have a connection to the metal? Oh, that's the... That's the input, I think. That's the positive input voltage. I mean, who knows? I might have just fried that then. By hooking it up, anything's possible. I didn't smell anything. Yeah, that's just... So the input terminal comes down this bit of plastic and back up that pin. Through that resistor. Or through that pin up there, along that track, through the resistor. That'll feed the chip. Capacitor on one side. Let's check the caps maybe. They don't look the healthiest, but that might just be from corrosion and stuff. Huh, open as anything by the look of it. That one's still okay. Is this just not making a bad connection? I think that one's open circuit, but that one's probably okay. What are they? 116, 116, both 116. Yeah, that one's got a lot of corrosion. I wonder if one of the pins is corroded off or something. Seems to still be intact. Let's have a look underneath. Can't see much because I got these. I don't know, is that the rubber part or is it just a little bit underneath it? I'd have found that little disc came off, but no, I think that's part of the capacitor's rubber, and it is bulging out a bit. Yeah, that's open circuit. So who knows what happened? That might have gone open circuit from heat and whatever and died and took out something else, but that's an interesting one. I'll see if I can find any data on that chip. But unfortunately the rest of this, yeah, I can just go into scrap metal recycling and the rest can go to the dump, I think. Like, that's not even worth saving. It's in poor condition. That's plastic. And I guess I could go in the e-waste maybe, if it's worth the bother for such a small bit. But at least I got rid of that now, so that still had a part of the dash attached to it that was broken. So it took up a bit of room. Now it doesn't take up any room. And this is the whole instrument cluster out of it. I did give this a bit of a clean up, but you can see paint's coming off, and so we've got a temperature and fuel gauge. And yeah, this had a bit of damage to the plastic, I think, as well. It doesn't clean off. We used to have a Toyota Corona, had similarly sort of stick out bits. Not sure quite what the point of that was, but the domed out sort of plastic on it. And we've got an econometer on this one. So what is that? P and E, power economy, I guess. I think the BMW X5s and stuff have that, and you could go up one of the roads here and see how uneconomical you could make it with its big V8 and a great big SUV. And I think you could pretty much hit 100% at the bad end of the scale, just because it was a steep hill. We've got a high beam blue light there by the look of it. Park brake, oil, brake, so that'd be brake failure, I guess. Charge or battery or alternator failure. And probably got some backlighting, so that's got a light. Yeah, that'd be a backlight. Backlight, I'm guessing there's no lighting on those. Oh, what have we got here? Some weird little device, 3-pin on a heatsink. Or is it on a heatsink or something else? Temperature and fuel. That's got some pins here. Everything's rusted. There's this kind of white stuff. Don't know if that's just a coating coming off. Flex drive again. So flex drive, that was those guys, wasn't it? Yeah, flex drive. So this is a mix of flex drive and VDO. Maybe the car makers even bought some from each just to keep them happy. It's almost like a picture tube or valve pin arrangement with a little keyed circle there. That looks like that Holden one, but does that bit turn or is it seized up? Don't think that's meant to turn. Maybe if we poke a screwdriver in there again, can we get any? Nothing. Could be seized up. This one's copped a bit more water, I think. And these lights, we should be able to light up. What's this thing sticking out? So is that a vacuum? Maybe it had a vacuum line to run the econometer. I don't fancy putting my mouth on there and blowing or sucking to see what it does, but that's probably what that is. This, I would assume, would have electrical to a temperature sensor in the fuel sender in the fuel tank. Yeah, someone's stolen one of my lights. What condition are they in? Rather tarnished. That should be copper. Oh, yeah, very tarnished. About all we can probably do with this is light it up one last time and see what it looks like. If we connect to the... Well, actually what we can do, it should be pretty easy to find. So these are the backlighting. Yeah, it's got the blue dome down in there. Bluish green, whatever they are. Probably depends on the car a bit. Can we? Oh, we probably can't really get that to light from the outside anyway because it's going to come in at an angle. Yeah, usual sort of blue. Much like the radio lamps. Let's see if we can light it up the other way. Probably such a dim glow you won't really see it. But we can use a multimeter to find what pins that goes to. One of them is probably ground. Oh, either it's not connected or of course it's the very last one. Or the second last one. And the other one's going to be in some random place. But these are like a plastic circuit board thing. Yeah, or it's not going to be there at all. Oh, that's weird. Is there something intermediate? I wouldn't have thought so. Ah, that's got an intermediate. Oh, it's just the... Okay, so let's mark that one. Oh, that comes up this. Is that a big track? These are like a plastic circuit board. Oh, there's your problem. I think that's copper and it's busted. And sure enough, it comes back down around to there. Ah, well, it's damaged. That's a bit of a fail. Yeah, that was a copper track. Can we actually... Oh, yeah, we can scrape it off, I think, and see some copper. We might even be able to fix it. I wonder if someone burnt that out or whether it's just corroded. It doesn't look like something that would corrode out like that, but maybe. I can probably almost solder them directly back together. Could have been physical damage, I guess, just someone dropped it or been in a shed or something. Something's moved and fallen on it or whatever and just hit that bit. That's very easy to tin. Surprisingly nice. Well, that half was. The other one not so much. I could almost bridge that with solder directly, I think. Can we do it without a wire? Oh, don't think so. Oh, did I get it? Nope, as soon as I touched it, came apart. Okay, let's solder a bit of wire across there now. We should be in business. Well, I didn't think I'd be repairing the thing. That'll be the last one again by the look of it. No, it's none of them still. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Oh, of course, there are two will be... Yeah, they should have been joined together anyway, because there's a bunch of lamps in here. That's a bad sign. Because these lamps are all in parallel, and you just got a filament. As I've just found. Well, at least it measures to that one now, so that's a good sign. Oh, so what the... I guess we could take every lamp out, I guess. They should all be the same wattage, I think. That one's directly connected, that one is not. Oh, we don't, that's not what I'm trying to do. We're connected to here. Because I can see the edges of this track. Yeah, what's connected? Oh, that's that pin, so that's that side. So that was a... Oh, yeah, we can see the blue light. That's all it's got on this one. Just one for the whole front bit here. So there's only 3 night lighting, park light, headlight type connections. So how the hell does this go? Oh, it comes back up here, comes across here, and comes to that pin. It's just dirty, I think. Okay, so that's our backlighting, and that's in rather poor condition. Whether these are going to make good contact or not, I don't know. Yeah, which one is it? That one. Let's put 12 volts in there and see if anything happens. We're pulling a bit of current. Oh yeah, I can see one light just off to the side there. You really wouldn't know it was on, would you? Oh yeah, your econometer bit's lit. That one doesn't seem to do anything. Oh yeah, and we've got a slight glow around the speedo, and even that one, yeah. I have to turn more lights off, I think, to see it. Oh, very nice, but except our one is out. Oh, there it goes. Yep, dicky connection. Oh, now we're cruising back in our Datsun in the 70s. About all these things probably good for now is a kind of cool display like that. Yeah, it's kind of good to see an old school one like that again. And maybe we can light up a few more. Let's see what the other ones are connected to. One of these commons is hopefully going to everything. I'm going to turn it that way because it tilts that way. Well, let's see. What have I got these other ones? No, not connected to either, but look at it. That comes up a track I can see to there. That comes up a track maybe to the next one. Wow, so they got independent connections. Well, that's a bit annoying, isn't it? And I can't really see where they go. Not connected to the other one. What have we got? This one here, I can see comes to, is it that one or that one? I can see it, but it isn't connecting. That one comes to the, oh, I'm looking at the wrong bits here. How did I get that mixed up? That's the actual track, and even though I'm touching it, it doesn't connect. So that is so corroded. Wow, that is well, it's not green like proper verdigris kind of stuff that grows on copper, so what on earth is this? Just that sort of dark colour it goes. I think that's a job for a bit of metal polish if ever I saw one. Is it even harsh enough? Hopefully it is. Maybe not. It sort of made that bit I'd scratched shinier, but isn't cutting the rest off. It's slowly taking it, but very slowly. Might still be enough. Yeah, this thing's pretty much had its day, I think. What else can I use? Almost needs a bit of sandpaper or something. We've got a bit of yeah, light scourer's not doing too bad a job. Need some of that stainless steel heavy duty scourer, I think. That. So this one is there. It's got to be one of these, isn't it? Oh, this is so we've got a common here, I think. Or do we? No, that's still not a common. Oh, that goes to that one. It is a common to that one. And to that one. And to that one. So at least we've finally got a common. But what's it connect to on here? That one. Was it that one? And then, yeah, that was that one. So most of this instrument cluster's connections, I can see that one goes across to here, even though we can't connect to it. That one goes to this one, maybe. Oh, is it there? No. Copper track comes, oh, it comes right round. Oh, it goes to that one, does it? No. That was the common, wasn't it? Oh no, is it? Oh shit, I've forgotten what's what. Oh no. So it's that one. I guess we can guess what's next. That's that one. And that was the other one, I think, wasn't it? Ah, dearie me. So we really need to solder all these connections together. So I guess if we clean these, well, back a bit further. Oh, I guess I could just wrap wire right around if we scrape them up a bit too. Can we just, I'll have to zigzag it around them a bit, I think. Something like that. Bit dodgy, but oh, that one's going to be separate again. What was that one? I forgot. This is your cluster of main lights. Oh, that was the high beam, I think. That's why that one's probably completely separate. Well, let's Since we have a shorter globe here, let's put that in there. We don't really want the high beam one anyway. Need to hook to that. And hopefully that, well, it's pulling plenty of current and nothing went splat. Oh, there we go. So we've got all the problems at once, or that's what they often did when you started the ignition, just to show that everything was working. And what do we need now? Let's pull about half an amp. That's how much they draw, even those little 5-watt ones. If I do a bit of a dodgy again, and we connect that one while bypassing that pin to there. And this one's going to go across to that other one. I think a lot of these globe holders are standard anyway. If you can find one somewhere else, then it'll do the job. I don't see my other ones lit up. Probably because I think that pin was rather horrible. I can hear the power supply kicking then. That one's gone. What's the other one? There. Ah, God. None of them want to work. Everything's intermittent. And there you have it, a red and green display. Obviously the red blocks out the green that was on that one, even though I can see it. I don't think the camera might just make out a bit of a ring around there. They could probably do a dimming down a bit, I guess. And the only other thing we got is a little blue one there if we wanted to have the high beams up, but I think it's kind of better like that. Probably better just green without any of those other lamps. But basically when you're driving, I don't think you wanted to see any of those on unless you put the park brake on when you pulled up somewhere. So that would certainly set you off if you had all 4 of them going. Could make a kind of cool LED chaser if you had those going around in a circle. But anyway, that's probably about all that thing's good for, really. We got it going again. Haven't tested the gauges. That one looks like you need pressure to test it anyway. But I just wanted to see what it looked like, because I remember, I say, when I was a kid playing around with some of this stuff, and it seemed kind of cool to get things to light up like that. Could make a nice display somewhere. Looks bloody terrible at the moment as it is out in the open like that, but if you put that behind, don't know, what could you actually put it behind? You couldn't really do much to enclose this thing nicely. You almost need some tinted perspex or something, but then you're not going to see that dim light anyway. But it could make a nice sort of light up thing at night, but you need pretty much total darkness to see it. I guess I can go and find that rheostat in the rubbish somewhere and actually make it so it's dimmable, but you don't really want it any dimmer than that anyway. I always thought they were a bit brighter than that, but these really do not come up very bright at all. Seems dimmer than it should be in a way, but very hard to see in this light at all. But they're certainly not made to light up in the day or anything. But that's about all we'll do with that for now. So I just want to have a quick play with those before I decide what to do with them. That needs taken off and a bit more dirt cleaning out. And when you could just hacksaw these bits off, I guess, and just have the two main displays or something, would be a bit neater. It would have been nice if it had the surround that went round this piece, then you could kind of make it light up cool. But you're only really going to see it at night in a dimly lit room anyway. And that's an interesting thing I just realised about our Holden ones. They don't they have any lighting? Wow. Or did they have some other light? Maybe they had, because these were set quite deep down. Maybe actually, I think some of them actually had a green light. If I remember, some of them had it like the plastic well they sat in. There would be a piece of plastic come up here, and there was just a patch of green plastic there with a light behind it. Maybe that's how they did it, rather than sort of backlighting. Because these, of course, are recessed, and then the light comes in between this front piece of plastic and the dial itself. So the Australian ones, I think I do remember something about them having a green bit of plastic above and the light shone down through the lens, which is probably not ideal because you're going to get reflections on the lens potentially. But if I guess maybe that's why they're curved like that, is so it goes away from where the driver's looking. And that, I wonder if that's something to do with why these have these pointy bits. Is that to stop reflections falling on the plastic, on flat plastic? So they point them out like that, and all the reflections are kind of, incoming light gets bounced off. That's probably the idea, I'm guessing. Yeah, because if I'm looking at it from this angle, I'm having real trouble getting the lights above here to reflect. You can probably see the same in the camera. You get that little thin bit there. They certainly don't wash the thing out. And when the light's directly ahead, I mean, I'm not directly ahead, doesn't help, but the angle I'm on, I cannot see the light at all. I can see it sort of go down this bit. But I'm guessing it's something to do with that. And keeping external lights from blocking vision of your instrument cluster. Oh no, one of our lights has gone out again. They are very dodgy, those connections. But if you solder, there it goes. Oh, now we've lost the other one. Yes. Jeez, you forget how warm these things run too. They are getting pretty warm in there. Where's the other light? Which one's? It must be that one. There it is. Oh, I've killed it all. That's just because the power supply is shorting out. So there's probably a good design reason behind this stuff. These manufacturers knew what they're doing. But it's not always easy to understand looking at it later on what they were actually playing at. And certainly one of these you could re-spray behind here with some matte black paint, I guess, if you can take this bit off and remove the meters from behind or dials from behind. Well, that's a speedometer, so it is a meter. You could probably respray this front bit and fix that. So it could be got going, but with all, it's got lots of scratches, and even like it's almost like it's corroded. Something's eaten into the plastic. Not much point worrying about this one too much, I don't think, but I might just hook that up at night sometime. Maybe with my old tuner collection, and just see what it looks like. And it should look fairly good. If it does, it might be worth making some sort of display out of. Yeah, pretty basic back in those days, just that flexible circuit board stuff. Piece of plastic with copper tracks on it that they just etch. And not a lot else to them, but this one's been, you can see it's been out in the sun and the weather, and it's corroded and terrible. So I don't think anyone would ever want to put any of this back in a car. Maybe you could pinch that mechanism there, but that didn't even seem to want to run. But whether I'm doing it right. But oh well, I got lit up for one more time. So something a bit different to play with, and I'll see if I can flog off those Holden ones to someone who can use them. And this I either use as a display or chuck it out. I think it's not really worth salvaging. It might be worth a little bit to someone. I might be able to find someone who can use it for something, but certainly not a great piece of old car parts that's worth a fortune like eBay sellers are trying to get. So that's all I'll do with this one for now, so thanks for watching.